Hello, guys, welcome back to KBRC. Today, we're going to be doing one more recommendation of books, and today's topic is Indian classics. Of the few retellings of Mahabharata that we've dealt with, some of them have been classic Indian pieces of literature, but now we're going to try something else. To start with, my first recommendation would be Bhisham Sahni's Tamas, which is a wonderful book that's based on the partition of India and the communal violence that went about at that time, the communal unrest, uh, the hands behind it, the problems faced by the general crowd when it's happening, the different motivations of the different sects, how one thing leads to another without intention, how the innocent are always exploited. One of the main characters here is the character of Nattu, who is the one who's ignorance causes a lot of trouble, which starts the very tail of it. But it also shows how someone like Nattu, who's a chamar, who's a leather worker, can also be exploited by more powerful people who are more knowledgeable about the situation, and how that knowledge can be used to manipulate the less literate or the less privileged. It's a wonderful book about the human condition, and the emotion in this will haunt you for a long, long time. Next recommendation is this wonderful book called Chemin by Tagadi Shivashankara Pilla. This is the English translation that came out as a special effort from HarperCollins by Anita Nair. It is a wonderful translation. The original book is in Malayalam. It is a wonderful read in itself. But I will be talking about the English translation today. So, Chemin deals with the fisher folk community. It is also sometimes studied under folk Indian literature. And it's a beautiful tale of magical realism, sometimes you could call it, because it deals with local folklore as well as a very realistic story. You get to have a flavor of the culture of the people of the beach lands and the fisher folk of a certain area. The main concept of it is the myth of the Kadalamma, or the sea mother, and how there is chastity forced upon women with the use of certain myths. And I particularly like this book, this particular edition of the book, because it also has an interview with Tagari Shivashankara Pilla, and it talks about how these characters were used to subvert certain conventional outlooks on women by also doing something very conventional about it. And it's a wonderful book, and I would highly recommend it as one of your first Malayalam translation books to ever read. Very easy read as well, wonderful language. Next, we have this beautifully short, wonderful, crisp tale called Samskara, which is a Kannada translation by the very famous Mr. Anandamurthy. Now, the book is about a Brahmin Agrahara based in a little town. This is post independence, new India era, and it talks about the conflict of duty and true morality or inner conscience. So, the main protagonist is Pranesh Acharya, who is the spiritual leader of an Agraharam. And there suddenly is the death of a man called Naranappa, who has been the rebel of the place. Now, a lot of conflict comes in place when his death leads to a lot of confusion of religious duties as well as moral duties. Pranesh Acharya, who's our protagonist, goes through a lot of confusion as to what is right, what is wrong. Everything that he believed about life starts being questioned again. And wonderfully, the book ends on a comma more than a full stop in the metaphorical sense of it. It is a very interesting tale, a very short book as well, but it makes you think, and it is a peak example of how beautiful Indian literature is, and it's one of the best literary fiction pieces out there. I have a few plays to recommend next. One is Habib Tanvi's Charandas Chor, which is pretty much a Robin Hood esque tale about a little thief from a small place who then becomes, well, the Robin Hood of the area. So the tale, so the beauty of this theatre piece is the fact that a lot of folk methods and theatre styles were used in its production, which is commendable, and is a wonderful way of working with the folk artists to create the beauty of this literature piece. So the dialogues are a bit more flexible, but the essence of it seeps through really well, even if you attend a play of this, a performance of this, without knowing the actual language. Similarly, thanks to that, the translation works wonderfully. This is a beautifully translated piece by Anjum Katyal. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And it is a very easy read, it's a very short play. And I think a great way to get into Indian classics would be to get into it through plays. Plays and short stories are the easiest form to explore a genre. And then next we have the one of the most celebrated Indian playwrights, which is Mr. Girish Karnad's. Three of his plays that we'll be talking about. The first and foremost is Tughlaq, the one that he is most famous for, and it's a wonderful allegorical tale about the very famous Tughlaq, Sultan Muhammad Tughlaq. Uh, I think Girish Karnad found the question put to him that India did not do a lot of good historical plays, and he worked on that while he was working as a Rhodes scholar. I mean, while he was studying as a Rhodes scholar. So in this, we learn about Tughlaq's idealistic ambitions and the violence behind it, which is calmer in the initial idealistic phase. And when things start falling apart, he starts using his power, and the power corrupts him, and he cannot see anything in clear light anymore. This slow degradation of a very idealistic character into something that is just a means of violence is very beautifully portrayed in the few lines that are possible to be put together into a play. So the short form is used wonderfully. It is used as an allegory for the post Jawaharlal Nehru era of Indian politics, and how power has corrupted quite a few of the idealistic morals we had when we got independence. The next two are Hayavadana and Nagamandala. They are both called twin plays, though they were written almost 17 years apart. Both of these plays work on Kannada folklore, and it talks about transformation of human parts and body parts, and around that sort of a thing. It's a very mystical sort of era. One of the stories is Nagamandala. It deals with a woman who is closed up and locked up in a home after her marriage, and she finds solace in her husband who behaves differently in the morning and in the night. Slowly, it's revealed to us that the person visiting her at night is a cobra who has transformed himself into the form of her husband. It is an metaphorical story about the isolation and the difficulty that Indian women of that time had in a joint family situation where their husband that they meet in the morning is very different and distant, while the husband they meet at night is the man who is the source of all her pleasure. And this is a wonderful tale, and it is a play within a play sort of a frame used, and the same frame is again used for Hayavadana. Hayavadana talks about the human need and the human urge for perfection, and how we keep trying to find perfection in that which we lack. It is about a small love triangle, you could say, about three characters, and in that there is a bit of body switching, a lot of a few foreign tales of Socrates and or Sophocles is also there, where you question whether the body is what holds a personality, or whether it is the head. And there is a bit of a body swapping that happens in between, and that's a pretty interesting tale. It is a very interesting way to include folklore into mainstream Indian classic literature. So I would highly recommend that you check out these two plays together as well. And these are our recommendations for Indian classics for this time. I hope you pick at least one of these soon, and do let us know if you enjoy it.